Hello everyone and welcome back to our JRPG series. In this episode we're going to work on our fire casting spell ability for our black magic spells. This will go over how to do an animation and effects to actually deal damage to an enemy target. So let's get started. So to cast our spells we're going to go into our combat component. And in here on the event graph, like how we've got the melee and the ranged attack happening here. We can get rid of this pinch string now. We're also going to have magic casting happening on a similar vein here. So I'm going to put on this other side here just to keep things a bit more organized. Let's just comment this out and do physical attacks. Okay. And on here we're going to have a, like how we got attack command, we're going to have a magic command. So custom event and do magic command. And this one is going to be again quite similar to what we've got on our attack command. So we're going to have to set orbit stuff still. Let's copy this in and put that in there. We then want to take the branch out of the thing here. And the branch here, rather than looking at whether or not it's a ranged attack or not, it's going to be looking at whether it is black magic or white magic, because that's going to change how they position themselves and who they target, because white magic is going to be only applicable to other player characters. So what we're going to do here is on the magic command we need to know what ability we're trying to cast. So on inputs here, let's make the ability, magic base and class reference, and we'll call this one magic class. So we're going to take this out of here and we're going to see whether or not it is a child of the black magic base class, and that'll go into that branch. Now, if it is the case, we want to do a new custom event to cast black magic. So I'm going to put this over here. Custom event, cast black magic. And this is also going to have the input for the ability we want to cast. So it'll just be black magic spell. Okay. So before we go on to doing this, let's just add this call to our branch. So we just add the black magic cast to true, and the parameter for this, let me refresh this, there we are. The parameter for this is going to be this magic class here. So we're going to just plug that into there. I'm just going to add some reroots in there just to tidy it up. And there. Like so. Okay, so now on to our black magic cast. Now this is a going to be quite simple, or similar, sorry, to the ranged attack. So I'm going to look at ranged attack and I'm going to take the first part of this here. So this is the AI move 2 and get in their ranged position. So I'm going to take this and take the hiding of the menu, copy that, and then put that over on here. That'll go just there. It functions pretty much the same in that part. Next we need to know what magic we want to cast and their ability and the animation. So you've got a couple of things here. You can either have each character have their own ability, their own animation for the magic casting, or you can have each ability having their own specific animation. Now in this case, because my characters all use different skeletons and different sets of animations, I'm going to make it character specific. So we're going to do, again, copy the play montage. We're going to take this across, but I don't want the attack montage. We're going to disconnect that and copy this over and put that on here. And this will go on the success. And the montage to play here, we're going to take out and promote that to a variable, and we'll call this one magic cast montage. And that will be similar to how we got the attack montage here. You can change it per character. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we need to change their who they're looking at. So make sure that they are looking at their target in order to cast their spell and makes it look a bit more normal. Okay, so when it's completed then, we're going to tell it to move back to its original position. And I'm going to copy this again, this, and you're going to do this active rotation. You're going to do all of this bit at the end here. We're going to copy and put on the completed here. Completed in there like so. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is tell it to spawn the actual spell itself, because at the moment it doesn't actually do anything. It just stands there, does an animation and walks back. So we're going to go on the play montage notify for the magic cast, and we're going to do a notify begin branch here, and this is going to be a spawn actor from class, and the reference to this is going to be our black magic spell that's part of the event. So we put that in there and just bring that down like so. And the spawn transformed for this, we're going to get the unit target, get their transform, and that will go into actor transform. And we want to know who the instigator for this was, and that's going to be the unit character. That's who cast the spell, so we know who is responsible for it. But we also need to know who this spell is going to damage. So we're going to go to our base magic class and set this up to have a variable on it, and this will be the spell target. And this is going to be simply an actor reference. And we'll make it editable and exposed on spawn. Compile and save that. Okay, so back to our component here. We can then right click, refresh this spawn actor node, and you can see spell target is now here. And that's going to be the unit target, which we'll plug into there. Okay, and that's it. That'll do the spawning of the spell. Now to the actual spell itself. We're going to hit save on this, and we're going to go to our black magic folder and go to the fire rank 1. And open the full blueprint editor, and let's put in some names in here. So ability name, we'll call this one fire, and the rank is going to have rank 1. Then we want to go and close this and go to our black magic base. So this thing, we're going to deal damage to the player on begin, the target's way on begin play. So drag out the apply damage, and the damage actor is going to be the spell target. Spell target. So the damage causer is going to be the instigator. Get instigator like that. So similar to how we done a physical attack, we have to do some sort of calculation to work out how much damage this character should be doing regarding their magic power. So each spell is going to have their own spell power related to their rank. So let's set that up first of all on our magic base, and go on here. And on the variables here, we're going to make a spell power table. And this is going to be a map of integers. So change the integer and map. And this is going to be a float here. So on your spell power table, we're going to put in rank 1 and put in a spell power default of 12. Rank 2, it's going to have a default spell power of 24. And rank 3 is going to have default spell power of 36. And these will be customizable per spell. So if you want some spells to do more damage, you can just change their spell power because they're more powerful spells. Likewise, we also want to take away more mana if it is different ranks. So we're going to go into the variables here, and we'll call this mana cost table. And this will be pretty much the same as what you just saw. So we're going to do rank 1, and this is how much mana it's going to take away. Now, the best thing to do is to take a look at what your starting mana is going to be. So if we take a look at our data table for our starting stats. So mana you start off with is 50, if you don't change any of their things. So the base ballpark is 50. So on the magic base here, I'm going to set the mana cost for rank 1 to be 6. Then I'm going to add rank 2. And rank 2 is going to be, let's say, 14 will do. And rank 3 is going to be, let's say, 24. Okay, so it's a lot more expensive when you start using rank 3 here. Compile and save that. And again, these are customizable per character. So as they level up, you can see you'll be able to cast more spells in your MP as it goes up and up and up. But you won't learn the larger ranks until later. So you can tweak those mana costs as much as you want per spell. It's not a problem. Okay, for now, that'll do. So let's now go to the combat component. And likewise, how we got calculate base damage, calculate damage resistance, we're going to have the calculate magic base damage. And very similarly on here, as this is an equation, you'll be using an equation here too. Now, this is one I've just worked out on my own, but obviously you can do any equation you want. You just sit down and balance it out to your liking. But if you want to follow this one, you're more than welcome to. So we're going to take their wisdom variable from their stats. So I'm going to take their base stats, their unit stat modifier. I'm going to break each one of those. And break that one. And we want it just to hide everything but keep the wisdom. And likewise for this one, hide it all, keep wisdom. I'm going to multiply this by a float to get a new wisdom value. I then want to multiply this further. So multiply by a float. And then we're going to do a square root. And the square root is going to be the spell power of the spell itself. So for this, we need to know what spell we're using here. So in inputs, we're going to make a new spell input. Spell class, we'll call it spell class. And we'll put that in here. That'd be magic base class reference. And if we just search for spell class now, we want to get the default of the class defaults. And you should see on there now the spell power table. So I'm going to take this out. And we're going to find this here. So with that, we want to get the rank of this. So take rank down, put that in there. And that will find the spell power we want to use for our equation here. So I'm going to do the square root of this number. So square root. And I'm then going to multiply this number by 2. And then I'm going to put that into here. And there's our final output. So I'm going to do add return node. I'm going to return that value there. Okay, and save that one. Okay, now let's go over to back to our Black Magic base and look at the base damage here. So for this, we need to know the combat component of the actor that spawned this. So we're going to get the instigator and then do cast to our unit base. And then from there, we're going to get the combat component. And then from there, we'll call the calculate magic base damage. And put that in there. So the spell class for this, we want to get the self reference, and then from there we want to get the class and put that in there. The return value we're going to drag into base damage and hit compile and save. So when applying damage, we also may want to have damage type class, especially for black magic spells, because they will be mostly used to dictate the resistances enemies will have. So for example, a fire monster won't be taking much damage from a fire spell. So we're going to take damage type class here, and we're going to promote this to a variable for our black magic base here, and we'll just call it damage type class and leave it there and hit compile and save that. Okay, so that's our black magic spell doing its job there, and we then want it to have a particle system to play an effect on. So let's go back to our magic base. I'm going to add a particle system to this, and we're also going to add a Niagara one as well. So you can use either Niagara or the cascade system, it doesn't really matter, and hit compile and save this. And on the magic base here, we're going to do a simple system for it to destroy itself. So on the particle system, right click, add event, and you're looking for on system finished. And do the same for Niagara, right click, add event, on system finished. And both of these are going to go into the destroy actor command. And because this is on the magic base, this will also work for white spells as well. Go back to black magic base, and that'll do this, and then once it's finished the animation for the particle effect, it will disappear. So let's take a look at our fire spell. Abilities, magic, black magic, fire rank 1. And on here, I'm going to go to the particle system, and we're going to add fire to this. And we got, maybe not fire, let's have a look. You got explosions, that might be quite a good one to do. Not too bad. What's this one? No. Firestorm? Nope. Let's go for impact. I think maybe the explosion is the best one we got from this pack here. So we'll do an explosion. So we got explosion 1, like this, explosion 2, a bit more fancy, or explosion 3, which is a bit bigger. I'm going to do explosion 1, I think. But obviously you can use whatever particles you want for this. I'm going to hit save, and we'll close this. So the last thing we're going to do is make it so that when we choose the spell, it actually casts that magic command on our combat component. So let's take a look at our target window. And in our target window, on the graph, we're going to have the variable for the ability we want to cast. So ability, the name of it, and the type for it will be magic base. It'll be a class reference. And hit compile. And on target chosen, this is the thing that gets called when we've chosen the target. We've got the attack command. We want to see if the ability here is valid or not. So drag it out, convert the validated get, and plug that in. If it's not valid, the attack command will be used. If it is valid, we want to drag out the magic command. And here you can see it's asking for what class you want to use, which would be the ability there. And that will go down to return as well. So it splits off based on whether or not we set this ability class, but we have to actually set that ability class. So when I go back to my magic window slot, where is it? And when we choose target selection window button, this is basically the spell button. We're going back to the menu and saying, hey, we've set ability chosen. To set that ability, we're going to go to Unit Battle HUD and go to our Show Targets functionality over here when we do ability chosen. And you can see the ability being set here. After Show Targets, we're going to drag the ability out and we're going to set it to our target window. So drag target window, set ability, plug that into there, and put this in after show targets. Now the reason why I want it after is because I'm going to use show targets to actually clear that So if I were to go back and choose an attack instead, it won't accidentally do an ability. So I'm going to set ability here to nothing to clear it. So it clears it first and adds it in. I choose a spell. Okay, and make this all finish and work. We have to go to our animation for our characters. So I'm going to do Greystone's one. And go to his animation and find it in here. And let's find the animation we want to use. So there's a cast he does here. And open this up. Yeah, that's not too bad. We've also, I think there's another one he does where he does a point. So here's the sword point one I quite like or look of. So we use this one. And let's find that in here. So that is the sword point, which is there. So I'm going to right click on this and create an anime montage. And this will be the Greystone magic cast. And going to go inside of that. And first thing we're going to do is set up the point where we want the spell to be fired. So that's a notifier. Because remember we put the notifier to be the thing that sets it all off. So let's add that into here. To about there, I think, quite nice. So notify. Or notify. And do montage notify. But I'm also going to do some casting effects on this as well. So I'm going to add another track to this. And on this track, we're going to put it up here, a particle system. And we can use one I know of. We can use the Aurora. So it does this sort of burst. You can't see it now, but you will see it in the game. You'll see this burst of like light come out of him when he wants to do the effect. So let's close this. Go to our Greystone character. And on here we can set the magic animation on his combat component. Magic cast. Okay, let's check this out. Play. Magic, black magic, fire, and choose default target. There's the fire there happening. So my Aurora cast didn't play. That's because I forgot that it's actually by default an infinite one, which you can't use when you're making it part of animations. So we need to make it loop and end. So we're going to go to the required for each one of these emitters and search for loops and do loop 1. And for each one of these, we're going to change that to 1. And yeah, there you go. There's our cast. So what else I'm going to do here is on here, we're going to change the duration of it. So duration, I'm going to change the emitter duration here to 0.5. And again, for each one, set that to 0.5. Okay. So now let's test that out. I shouldn't have to change anything because it's already added to the animation itself. So Greystone will now do magic, black magic, fire rank 1, choose that target, and there you go. And there we go, our first fire spell is in the game, dealing damage to our enemies. However, at the moment it doesn't cost us any MP resources. So in the next episode, we're going to go over how to spend MP to cast these spells and in turn make it so we can't cast them if we don't have the available resources. You can watch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can watch all my videos early before everyone else from just $1 a month. Massive thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.